Okay, it's 27 June and a bit of an update on what's going on in the garden. So back here, this is all the eggplants. They're not that much bigger than the last time that I saw them, as far as I can recall. Hoped to have started training them up the vines by now, but so far just this one has really started to take off. I still have chives down here. This is the Walla Walla onions. We've just had midsummer, so now these are starting to swell up into their normal size. I've thinned out most of them so that there's only one bulb per clump, but there's one or two that looked decent size, so I just left them there. Next bed here. This is, last time this was all kale and arugula and other types of things, so that's all cleared out. All the cilantro is cleared out. This is tomatoes. So there's two different varieties. On the left is Roma, and on the right is a variety called Brandywine. And I still have a couple of kale left back there, but as you can see the difference in just how much energy that kale is stripping away from the tomatoes. These tomatoes are all planted at the same time, and this one's very small compared to these ones. Celery patch is going strong. There's some nice thick bunches of celery growing in down there. About another month or so, and this will all be cut back and ready to put in some autumn vegetables, probably like kohlrabi or something. This bed was all broccoli and kohlrabi last time. I had to dig out the kohlrabi because it got so hot so quick that they didn't swell up very well, and they just split, so they look like little Pac-Man balls. Those are some variety of pepper. I don't remember which kind. Find out when they start to grow. This bed over here was all lettuces, so those have all been pulled out, and I now have corn growing. Corn, you have to grow about 50 plants or so if you're going to get some decent yields. So I have about 36 plants in here. So we'll see what happens. They like to be fairly close together as well. The triangle bed, the strawberries are just about finished at this point. Ooh, about to fall over. There might be one or two in there still, but for the most part the strawberries are finished now. 27th of June. There's like one or two left down in there, but at this point the beetles have found them, so there's a nice slug growing in there, so that's not really fit for eating. And once they stop making strawberries, they start sending out their runners everywhere. Potatoes are blooming away. I did dig through a little to see if I could find any potatoes. I only found one tiny little stolen. So even though these are supposed to be an early variety, thank you Menards, you just gave me an all long season variety. So that means that those are going to stay there for a while. Up on the big beds. So this is carrots are doing okay. So again, I'm not going to bother growing them, they just take too long. And these blooms here are from the parsnips, and they're going to take a long time before they become even close to big enough to do anything with. I still have some kale, chard. So most of it is red. There's this one white one that's happened to be in there. I'm going to have to start pulling that out of there because the beans, which are growing up the pole, are starting to wrap around those as well, and it's just becoming a mess back inside there. So tomatoes are going up the vines. There's 4 different varieties of tomatoes. Back here they're nicely flowering. They're already starting to make a couple of baby tomatoes, and those have to be, right now they're growing very fast, and so they have to be plucked and The little suckers have to be pulled off just about every day, otherwise they'll just get out of control. Peppers are growing along just fine down here. Once again, I don't remember what variety they are. Oh, I saved a tag. This is a sweet crispy hybrid. Alright, well that's something. Big garlic is all pulled out now, and so this is leeks that have just been set in there, multi-sown clusters, so those will be ready to make some soups later on in the year. The garlic that's been pulled out is right here, and you can see it's a fairly decent size of garlic. Two different varieties, so this is the larger variety. All the others have already been put down into the basement for storage for a couple of weeks now, but all the other variety are that big at the biggest. So in this pile, that's the smallest. So so that's grand. This is Brussels sprouts, kind of packed fairly close together, but what I will do is I start trimming down the lower leaves, and so you just get a long stalk growing up out of there. Behind there I had the peas. All of the peas have been pulled out. I pulled all of those out earlier in the week. And so back here I have melons, and over on the sides there's one variety of cucumber, and there's another variety of cucumber setting back over there. And I have a couple that are still in containers in case something goes wrong with these ones that I planted. This bed back here, we have red cabbages getting nice and big. Unfortunately, there's some caterpillar damage in there. And there's another one over there that's fairly caterpillar infested as well. Then we have the pole beans are in here. Those are getting very, very big. So they're starting to branch everywhere. I'm probably going to have to add some supports because they're just toppling over. And you can see there's lots of beans growing in there. I already have a nice bowl of beans pulled out, and there's still plenty more that are in there yet to be picked once I get around to it. But they're all flopped over and need to be supported a bit better because they grow very quickly. Once they're happy little beans. Down into the long bed. So there's a hodgepodge. So along the backs, the grapes are going still. This is the sunflowers that I just grow for fun. Pickling cucumber is just slow to get going back in the back there. So lots of sunflowers are in here. I think I put in about a dozen of them. I have the pickling cucumbers staged every 8 feet. And then this year I decided to set a winter squash. The missus likes the winter squash. I don't particularly care for it. But that'll grow all over the lawn. It'll grows towards the sun, so this whole lawn will be covered in squash for a while. Peppers in here as well. Now that they're big enough, the rabbits will leave them alone, but I think I've successfully managed to block the rabbits, and some of them are already producing some little peppers. Need to get a bit bigger, but they still have 3 months of growing to do, so that's all right. Basil, 2 different kinds of basil growing. So there's basil. This is a sweet basil, and we have some more tomatoes in cages back here. This is all 3 of these varieties are large tomato variety. So I have 3 different varieties of tomato growing back here because I just couldn't part with throwing out all of those tomatoes. It makes me sad to throw them all away. So quite a few tomatoes going back here. And now that I got the rabbits under control, the grapes are able to start growing again. This had just been decimated by the rabbits. So, and it'll be coming along for a while. I suppose the last thing that I probably skipped over here is the zucchinis. I've been growing zucchini for the first time this year. And so I have 2 zucchinis that I set, one there, 2 different varieties. I have room for one more. They take up a lot of space, so I can't grow too much in and around them. And then I have another zucchini along with the strawberries that's on the strawberry ladder. And this one just grew by itself from a seed that was thrown into the compost. And so that's another zucchini. And there's another zucchini that's also doing fairly well down inside there. Not where I intended for it to grow, but life finds a way. And that is it for today.